Hello and welcome back to the Grapple Theory podcast. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Now, on today's show, we are continuing our look into Black History Month here in the UK, talking about representation in British wrestling with Black British wrestlers. Now, today we're joined by someone we've had on the show a little while ago. He's back for his second appearance. He's the man behind Everything Patterned. He's part of the 8-7, and he's really he does loads outside the ring as well. Again, we said promotion. He does bodybuilding as well. He's absolutely ripped, which if you've seen him in the ring, you'll definitely know already. Delighted to welcome to the podcast this week, Big Wavy, Roy Johnson. Roy, thank you so much for coming on the show. Delighted to have you here. We always start the podcast at the minute by talking about the last 12 months in wrestling. It's been about a year, just over a year since wrestling properly returned. How have the last 12 months been for you?
The last 12 months, okay. It's been all right. Like myself personally, I guess it's a lot. It's due to how the landscape of wrestling constantly changing and stuff. But I've not got to do a lot of things I wanted to do. And I'm not. And this is me just being brutally honest. Like I've not got to do a lot of things I wanted to do. I'm not in places as regularly as I'd like to be. But at the same time, I've still got a lot of cool things have happened in the last year. And a lot of cool things that are coming up. But just me being me, I always want more. So, yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with how things have been. But it's just not how I envisaged my year. And that's purely because, like, I'm quite self-aware in that I know I'm one of probably the older people on the scene, which means as time gets on, I've got opportunities. Probably going to get less and less, and I've got goals and stuff I want to achieve before I eventually one day decide to stop wrestling. So that's probably why I'm harder on myself than normally. But I am also doing bodybuilding at the moment, which I don't know if people may believe that to be me stepping away from wrestling or whatever. It's not the case. I've just decided to focus a lot of my energy and attention on something else for I guess a period of time.
Yeah, sure. And we'll talk about the bodybuilding in a little bit. But getting back to what you were saying there, I imagine it's a little frustrating to not have sort of achieved the things you want to achieve this year. But does that also make you hungrier to push to make sure you achieve them, say, in the next 12 months?
So it's a difficult one because this is the funny thing and the weird thing about wrestling is, and I'm sorry if I upset anyone by saying this, but wrestling's not a real sport. So you can put your all into wrestling and whatever, and you might not get anything out of it ever, or you could put not a lot in and get loads out of it. It's one thing that's just completely out of your control, which is why I did the bodybuilding thing. So because I'm coming from an athletic background and I've played sport and all that sort of stuff, I know that if you put your all into a actual legit genuine sport, if you've got the talent, you'll do incredibly well.
Yeah.
And wrestling, and I think I'd probably say I've almost run myself to the ground with wrestling in terms of how much I put into it, and especially the last couple of years, so I've not really got back what I've been expecting, B, what I've been told I should be getting, and what I want essentially. So I just want to focus my kind of my energy and my hard work on something else that I know might get actual tangible benefit. But at the same time, I've got goals I still want to hit within wrestling, and then they're gonna, once the bodybuilding's parked, so I've got 3 shows coming up, and then once that's done, I can really put some focus back on wrestling and see where that lands. But I think, obviously, in the last year, we've had NXT UK close, which I think for a lot of UK wrestlers will change their goals and what they're striving for and what they're looking to achieve in wrestling, because obviously that's not a viable destination anymore. What NXT Europe looks like, I guess the landscape doesn't know yet, and whether that's avenues for people within British wrestling, we don't know yet. So for me, next 12 months, I just want to continue to enjoy what I'm doing, continue to make sure, most importantly, that the fans are happy and enjoy what we're doing, because I'm not really one of them wrestlers who wrestles for myself and wrestles to, to be able to put out a cool MV or something end of the year. It's more about what what the paying customer are feeling and what they're enjoying for me. But yeah, as long as I can continue to do that and continue to enjoy it, that's where the next 12 months will take me.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to go and wrestle internationally within the next 12 months, and hopefully I'm able to do so. And then just do things that I find enjoyable within wrestling. Wrestling is a lot more fun when it's not stressful.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing you mentioned again with like the bodybuilding links. You mentioned the last time we chatted, we had you on the show. You mentioned about when you were doing powerlifting, and like the gratification of that is different because when you win a tournament, like you're the best. You put that work in to get to the best. Whereas wrestling, and we've spoken to a few other people about this who do other sports. Wrestling isn't like that. Like you can put in all the work and all the effort, and it's all down to what someone else wants you to do on the card. Like you might not get that back. So I imagine that can be difficult, again, putting in that sort of amount of effort and not getting back necessarily what you think you're putting into it in terms of the training and what you're putting your body through.
Well, it's quite similar. Like I said, I guess I mentioned this last year. So my chain of thought hasn't changed. Is that I've now, since talking about the powerlifting stuff, I've then gone on to do like bodybuilding stuff for the exact same reason. I want to have that self gratification.
Yeah.
So, but I still love wrestling. Still lot to do, and a lot that I can do in wrestling. So it's still going to be a focus of mine. It'll be more of a focus in the coming months because I'll be off competition prep.
Yeah. So. Sure. Well, something else we mentioned last year when we had you on the show was it was around the time when it was the closed tapings at Progress, and you were the MC for those. Now, obviously, Progress is back. As well as all the other shows with fans and all that. Have you seen a change, as someone who's obviously a regular on shows before lockdown, having gone through those closed tapings, and now, have you seen a change in sort of audience wrestler dynamics or shows and how they run since coming back, since things have got into full flow again?
So there's still, even though like society has moved on from it, there's still the needs for people to protect themselves from COVID. Still, when shows start coming back, it's very much so that take a test before, make sure you take a test, blah blah blah. But now it's just like, obviously now people don't get free tests anymore, so it's at people's discretion if they want to. But people are still making sure they're like keeping it safe, and if people feeling unwell, whatever, this is when it comes to shows. So people are still getting COVID. People sometimes wear masks or whatever backstage, so there's that element of it. With regards to like fan interaction, I'd see that happening a lot less now. I mean, it still does happen because obviously fans want to interact with wrestlers want the opportunity to interact with fans and the opportunity to sell merch. But me personally, I will still do it. I'm not going to stand at merch with a mask on or tell people to social distance and stuff. But it's still a consideration for people. And one thing I am noticing from being back is that the crowds are slightly less. I'm seeing emptier seats or more empty seats. It shows I'm seeing shows that are taking longer to sell out than they usually do, and I'm seeing less shows reporting sellouts at the moment. And I don't know if that's a COVID thing. I don't know if that's the economics thing, because at the moment everything's really expensive. Travel's expensive, so getting to shows expensive. Tickets are going up. The cost of venues is increasing. It's going to get worse with the energy crisis and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of external factors outside of, I guess, just COVID that are affecting wrestling shows at the moment.
Yeah. I think people have found that. I think we've spoken to a couple of people that said that as well, about the fact that, like you say, it's not just COVID that's affecting things, and the wrestling industry for as well as it seems to be doing at the minute, considering everything it's been through, there is that sort of struggle in how is it going to keep going at this rate, with the coming months. But I guess hopefully it will, right? Hope that's all we can do is hope that it will and keep improving.
Well, there's people always going to want to be entertained, and if people's choice of entertainment is going to a wrestling show, then hopefully that can stick about. But when it gets to a point where people are choosing between their electricity bill and entertainment, they're going to choose their electricity bill. So I hope, I don't want to get into too much into politics stuff, but I hope the government can sort out what's happening with this energy crisis, because people are going to start to feel the pinch.
Yeah.
People are already starting to, and it's going to get worse. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing we didn't talk about last year when you had you on, and I'm gutted that we didn't, was the 87, because you were the first member of the 87 we had on, and now you're on again. And in that time, obviously, like I mentioned, we've had spoken to Warren Banks, which hasn't gone out yet at the time of recording, and we've spoken to Jade as well. So talk to me from your point of view with the 87 in terms of, as like, I guess, an original member of the 87, about where it started from, and when Warren and Jade joined as well, separately, where sort of like those dynamics came from, the chemistry to be like, oh, we want them involved. Because obviously Jade's spoken about how she sort of just pestered you until you let her be part of it. But like, from your point of view, like, what was the thinking with getting those two involved when they did?
Well, so actually, the 87 was formed in a car journey with me, Alex Roth, and Kieran Corrupt. We used to travel together to show them. We just had this idea of like forming this group, and then it came together. Essentially, I helped them win the tag team titles at Sacrifice. Then they helped me beat Warren, because I was struggling to beat Warren in however many matches I had with him at Sacrifice. And then it just got to the point where we realised, okay, Warren is actually quite useful. Would be quite useful to the group. So because it took so much out of us as a three to beat him, and so let's just add him. Let's just add him to the group. And then Warren has a pretty good relationship with Jade, and that from that point it just became her pestering to join the group, and she's quite persistent, quite annoying. So we just go on, fine, whatever. Like, enjoy you from the group. And then since then, actually, relatively recently, we've had Shaniqua join the group.
All right.
So essentially, Roth was at the Sacrifice show and was impressed by her showing, and just offered her the armband. And we're always looking to grow. We're always for new members, because for me, that just means more bookings. Because if me and Roth have a tag booking as the 87 and he can't make it, or I can't make it, we can just draft another member.
Yeah.
Because he's had bookings with Warren. I've had bookings as a team with Warren, because people just want to get the 87 on the show. But at the moment, really, the active tag team in the 87 was me and Roth, because obviously Warren was injured. So, but we'll return. He will return, and we'll return as a stronger unit. So
yeah, I mean, we talk about. Well, that's the thing. We talk about goals, and Warren said to us that he wants the 87 to be like that photo of Evolution in WWE, where they've all got gold around the waist. So hopefully, when he's back and when Jade's back, that's what we want to see, right? We want to see all the gold with the 87.
Well, that's what I want to see. But I seem to be allergic to championship gold in wrestling. Like, it's, I might get the odd title match and not win. I don't. I really hold gold. All the gold goes to Roth. So that's the goal and the aim. I think that for next year or whatever, and whenever Warren's back, hopefully sooner than later. But we can work towards us having that cool Evolution picture, or the current. The Bloodline picture with all the gold at the moment. So
yeah, we need to see it. We need to see it, and that's the thing as well. It must be really nice. We talked about, again, like earlier in last year, about like validation in wrestling and how promoters perceive you. But as someone who sort of like forms a faction, and then in the case of like Warren and Jade, to have these two people that have spoken to us about how openly they wanted to join it, that must be really nice as well. Like, make you think like, oh, we've got something cool here that these other guys who are really great want to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not just them two as well. Other wrestlers want to join us. People express that they want to join, and it's, obviously it's down to the existing members as a committee is whether we see their we want people to join. So we don't want to have C numbers of people, with the armband, but at the same time we want to grow. We see there's strength for us to grow. But it's cool that we can have people like Warren and Jade who want to see what we're doing and want to join. So
yeah, for sure. Is there any sort of like initiation thing? Like when a player joins a football club and they have to do some sort of karaoke or something. Do you have like an 8-7 initiation?
No, nothing like that.
Oh, you got to get that going. You got to do something. There's got to be something for people to like.
Yeah, maybe some form of hazing or whatever. But we just decide if someone we like the look of someone, if they add something to the group and they fit the group aesthetic, then we're like, yeah, cool. You can join, and that's pretty much it. At the moment, there's no there's no initiation or anything like that at the moment.
Oh, fair enough. Well, we hope for that. I'll keep my fingers crossed for that. And moving on to other stuff, obviously, like we mentioned off camera, we got you here as part of Black History Month. I really appreciate you coming on, and we're going to talk a bit about representation in wrestling. Like I said, we've already spoken to Warren and Leon Slater about it. So I guess from your mind, as someone who, I guess, obviously not trying to age you or anything, but as more of like a veteran of the scene, I mean, like, how have you seen, and we'll talk about as well everything patterned in a little bit as well, but how have you seen representation in wrestling change and hopefully, I hope, grow since from when you started to where it is at this point?
Oh, it's huge now. The representation's grown significantly since when I started. And I'll say it's not paraphrase because I don't want to be. I know this is probably incorrect, but when I started wrestling, it was like me, Rampage Brown, Ryan Smile, and as far as I can think of, like of British black wrestlers within the scene, and so, like, to be able to do an event like Everything Pattern back when I started would have been impossible. Just wouldn't happen. There wasn't the number of talent there. And then when we did the first Everything Pattern, it was still. Sorry, I will go back and correct myself. Jodie Fleiss, I can't forget Jodie. Can't forget everything, Jodie. But when I did the first Everything Pattern, we pretty much scrambled a card together when we literally had everyone that was available. Apart from Jodie because he was booked, which was mad that out of everyone I wanted to book on the show and everyone who was available, Jodie was the only one who wasn't available because he's booked elsewhere, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
But now, if you look at now, I've got a bit of as we record this, I've got Everything Pattern happening on this Friday. But obviously, when this goes out, it will already happen. And I've had a selection headache for this show in a good way because there's so many people now that are available and can work the show, and I've had to basically turn down a lot of people and just say, look, sorry, not this one, but there's obviously going to be more, and because there's so much talent out there now, and not only are there so much talent, there's so much talent who are doing like incredible things at the moment. You've got like, you mentioned Leon Slater. You've had a chat with him. He's everywhere at the moment, and Leon's a fantastic talent. And all he needed was that nudge in terms of getting more exposure. And we're like, look, everyone come look at this guy because he's really good. And then people look at him and like, oh wow, he is really good, and now he's everywhere. And it would have happened anyway. But I think him being on the last Everything Pattern really helped raise his stock within the Brit Rest. Him being seen on that Progress show, then him getting a ton of bookings through Progress, and then he's working Web Pro, and he's all up and down the country. And then you got like Doris, for example. Doris is now a massive name in Brit Rest. He's, as we speak, as of when we're recording this, he's #1 contender for the Progress Championship now. He's a former Progress Tag Team Champion. He's literally everywhere. He's very regularly booked and very busy in terms of wrestling. And those are just a couple of names that I can throw out there who you see on cards regularly now. And the representation has grown to the point like yeah, I can put on an everything pattern show, and I can leave out a large number of people that I would want to book if I could, if I had the resources to. But because the talent's all there now, the talent's all you know, working regularly and doing great things. And I wish I was in a position now where we could talk about you know, black talent within NXT UK, but unfortunately NXT UK is now closed. So, but yeah, representation bits is progressed significantly over the last couple of years. And that's also reflected within the crowds as well. The crowds are now a lot more diverse. I saw a note from Progress Management that they noticed their crowds are more ethnically diverse since everything patterned.
Really?
Yeah, which is great, and that's what one of the things I wanted to achieve, because it was really important for me that the crowds, firstly the talent was getting recognised everywhere, and secondly the crowd represents A, the area the shows are in, and B, the talent.
Yeah.
Like for example, London wrestling shows in London, they shouldn't really be, you know, 99-95% white crowds. They should, and white males. They should, you know, there should be a mix of you know, other races and ethnicities, other genders, people from all walks of life, because everyone loves wrestling. You know, it's not a primarily white male form of entertainment. Everyone loves wrestling, and that should be reflected in the crowds that turn up, which is now happening, which is great.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's fantastic. And something else, I guess, that like on the more like negative side of it that we're talking to with Warren is, like, you mentioned all that great talent that's now on the scene, but it still seems that whether it's unconsciously or consciously, it seems that promoters are still not necessarily including that number of, say, black talent on their posters when they're advertising shows, which is still a major issue, it seems.
Yeah, and that's something I notice a lot, and something that people send to me a lot. My inbox is usually inundated with natural show graphics, and people are like, why can't they put brown or black faces on the you know? And I just think it's an oversight. Honestly, do I don't think there's any malice or will towards it, but it's just such a, like, I don't know why promoters don't think about these things. It's like they just slap together wrestlers and put it on a club. But maybe you want to actually show the casual person that you have women's wrestlers, that you have black wrestlers, that you have Asian wrestlers, because people want to, and especially young people, you want to get them into wrestling. They want to see people that look like them and represent them. And I mentioned it before, but my godson's really into wrestling. He's a big fan of WWE, and he naturally gravitates towards black wrestlers because, you know, he's seeing someone that looks like them in a WWE ring. So he's a massive fan of New Day, Street Profits. You know, he has pretty much every wrestling figure there is. He's now getting into AEW as a 10-year-old, and if someone that young can understand that they want to see themselves represented in the wrestling ring, surely, like, that should ring alarm bells to people who are putting out these shows to say, actually, we should make sure that these young kids, or whoever, actually, not even young kids, but whoever, the audience are represented in terms of the people they see. And I wouldn't take him to a wrestling show where there wasn't a black face on the poster.
Yeah,
because that subconsciously tells him that this isn't for you, and that this isn't something you can do. And if he chooses one day that he wants to try wrestling, which he probably will do, probably look at his Uncle Roy and be like, "Oh, I want to try that out." But I want him to think that he can try that out. Try out something he can do.
Yeah.
I want to take him to a British independent wrestling show because it's cheaper than going to WWE. It's more accessible, and like it's a different experience. Like, he goes to all the shows when WWE come over, and his mum will get him like front row tickets and what have you. But I'm sure if he came to an independent wrestling show, he'd feel a lot closer to the talent because obviously there's no barricades. So, and you have more of a personal interaction with them. So, but it's something that people need to think about, and they just don't. And it irritates me that people don't think about this. Like, I have in the past called out promoters for not doing it, for saying, why don't you have any like, you know, black talent booked on the show? There's no excuse now because they're everywhere and they're all over the country. And then some response were like, oh yeah, we've got such wrestlers booked on the show. I'm like, but they're not on the show graphics. So why would you not promote that you're using these people?
Yeah.
Do you not understand like what kind of message that brings out? And it's always the answer is always an oversight, or it's always someone else is doing the graphics and they've omitted someone. Just think about it. Just think about these things. It's like, I don't think they realise that the power of I guess the black pound in Britain, and like I mentioned earlier, everyone loves wrestling.
Yeah.
I have friends who love wrestling and who are wrestling content creators, like the Wrestling's guys and their network, and they spend a lot of money going to shows, and they spend a lot of time and their own personal time and energy and effort put in towards a wrestling scene. And it tends to be more towards WWE, AEW, New Japan. But if they were I guess, embraced in the same way as major companies were in terms of the talent they book and they show and they push, they would probably embrace British wrestling more than they currently do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It goes back to what you were saying, and Maura said the exact same thing as well. It's like, if you don't see that black face on the poster as like a young black kid who wants to get into wrestling, you're not going to be like, oh, this is a place that will accept me, because you don't see anyone that looks like you there.
Yeah.
And it's the same that Leon said similarly, but slightly different, because obviously he said he's mixed. And so when he went into training, he was the only black face there, but it didn't bother him as much because he's mixed, so he didn't necessarily see that as an issue. But it's that case where even with training, if you're a young black kid who wants to go into wrestling, and you go into training school and it's all white faces, you're not going to feel like you belong there either. And that's the major issue, I think, isn't it, in terms of continuing this trend of growing representation, is making sure that there's safe spaces where people of all colours, of different colours, can feel like they can belong.
Yeah, and that's true. And of when I started training as well, there's only really me and Levi when I started training, and who were I guess, well, me, Levi, and probably Misha East on the black side of wrestlers who were there regularly. And then you'd get other people, like new trainees, who'll come in, but they'll dip in and out. And I think purely because the way the school's set up, there was like a beginner's course and whatever, and those tended to be primarily white people. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, because I can't speak for these people who dip in and out and whatever. There might be other reasons why they might not want to pursue wrestling as hard. But like me personally, I started wrestling and I went to wrestling training because that's all I wanted to do. I personally wasn't seeing race as a barrier for me to stop me from doing something I wanted to do, but other people might do.
Yeah.
Like I've grown up around like many different races around my life, so I'm comfortable in. Sometimes I am the only black person in a setting. It's not the ideal situation for me, but it's something I'm not uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
So I would just carry on, but other people, that there might be an issue to them, and if you're not getting the same level of understanding and support, because I guess other people of the same race and the same background understand each other the same way in certain aspects.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing as well in terms of, I guess, well, with representation in terms of building it and things like that. It's about also promotions, and I think Leon mentioned this, is that it's not about having like black wrestlers on a card as like a token black wrestler, like, oh, we've got him because he's black, like this is like our obligatory thing. Yeah. It should just be the case that, like, hey, these guys are great wrestlers, like that's why they're on the card.
Yeah. And this is the argument I had at the beginning with people, because when I started noticing these things and started talking about it, people are like, oh well, wrestlers are booked on merit. I'm like, yeah, sure, they are, but then there's a wealth of incredible black and brown talent in this country that aren't on shows. So whilst you can use the excuse that people are booked on merit, unless we're seeing a mix of ethnicities, it's not really the case. You know, the talent is there, and I think now especially the talent is there, and the crowds and the shows are more diverse. But maybe now people can say, "Oh yeah, we are booking on merit," but still, promotions will all have that one black wrestler to tick that box. You know, it shouldn't be the case because the talent is everywhere. So
yeah, exactly, and like in my mind, and this is the thing, I'm not just saying this to say it, but if I were listing you now the 5 wrestlers who I think have had the best year, I reckon there would only be one of those who is a white face. Like in my mind, like I'd say that, like for me, it would be Ojmo, Warren Banks, Leon Slater, DeReese have absolutely killed it this year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's just that like the talent's been there. It's just that now hopefully people are noticing it and giving that credit that it deserves, and that those spots on the card that they deserve.
Yeah.
Like hopefully, I guess hopefully we can just hopefully see that improve. I mean, what in your mind? I know it's a very sort of open-ended way to end this section, but like, how can wrestling keep improving? What can promoters and fans do to make sure that this continues to grow, this growth of representation of coloured people in wrestling?
Well, so I don't think we've solved the problem of representation, but we're in a much better place than we were with regards to wrestlers and to the people that come to watch shows, and it seems to be improving as time goes on, which is fantastic. I think what the scene needs now is to have more ethnically diverse promoters. Like, and I might be incorrect in saying this, but I think the only one, Andy Corgan from Rev Pro. I don't class myself as a promoter. I'm not running shows regularly. If I could, you know, if I could, I would, but I don't run shows regularly. I know the guys at Pro Wrestling East have one of the guys who helps run with that, because they have a group and a group / committee of people. One of those guys is black. Pro Wrestling East, they have one guy who helps book and run the shows who's black, and they get it right in terms of the diversity they portray in their shows, whether that be through gender, race, sexual orientation. They get it, you know, bang on. But I just think for us to push forward and move, there needs to be people within the booking and promoting of shows that understand the importance of representation, and maybe not saying they understand it for the purpose of box ticking, or be shown to be supportive of these issues and to be shown to be woke, so to speak, because. I don't want to say like there's the performative elements of it towards the scene, but just if there's people within influence who are of other ethnicities within wrestling, I think that will help things significantly.
Absolutely. No, well said, perfectly said. And something I want to get onto, just sort of like closing out this bit, is you mentioned yourself in terms of like sort of promoters in wrestling, like black promoters in wrestling. Obviously, you didn't class yourself as a promoter because you don't run them regularly, but you run them. You run 3 now. Like, as the time we're recording, it'll be your 3rd show, I think, right? And then obviously this goes out once that's happened. But when you first started, when you first booked like the first Everything pattern, or even the second one, like, did you look at it in terms of? I guess what I'm getting at is, how much did you know about what promoters go through to book a show, and like how much of a like moment was it for you, like when you're booking that first show and you're like, oh god, this is pretty tough? Like,
it's really tough, and the scary thing about it is I've not run any of these shows on my own. It's always been like, you know, I've had help from the first one. I had help from the Wrestling Resurgence. The second one I had help from Progress. This one I'm having help from Restable. And like me personally, I wouldn't have the time to be from wrestling promoter at all unless it was like I had a sort of full-time job within wrestling or something. Trying to juggle promoting a show and my day job It's difficult and tricky, and I'm not doing it on my own in these things. So I'm just doing whatever I feel needs to be. And it's even like silly things like so I got my show up on Friday. I don't have everyone's entrance music, and now I'm stressing about getting that, and things like writing scripts for tech and how things are going to run in terms of match times and the music piece that I just mentioned, and then things like what colour should the lighting be for this sort of thing. I think all these little intricate details that I don't think of because I wouldn't think of because I'm a wrestler.
Yeah.
For me, I just turn up and the show happens. That's, I turn up, I do my bit, and the show happens. But there's a lot that goes behind it which wrestlers don't see if they don't necessarily promote a show, and then there's things as well like managing costs and budgets. Shows and on the wrestler side of things, you think, oh, we should be paid more, and the promoters are being tight and all this sort of stuff. But if the money's not there, it's genuinely not there, and that needs to be something that promoters need to manage. And then they'll eventually stress over because if they're not selling enough tickets, how are they going to be able to afford to run the show without having to dig into their own pockets?
Yeah.
No one wants to dig into their own pockets.
Yeah, no, it's not a job that I could take on. Definitely not. It seems way too stressful.
So that's probably why, for the moment, I'm sticking away from promoting shows primarily on my own. I think if I were to do that, I would need a lot of time to run up into the shows. I need to have a significant amount of money that I don't mind losing. Which I don't. I don't think anyone does in this moment in time. And just to be like guaranteed or have the confidence that you're going to set up of the show, which for me I don't know because everything pattern's very new.
Yeah.
The first two shows have done really well, but then they've had the backing of existing very, very, very good, very big independent wrestling companies who have infrastructure that I can't facilitate myself. Progress, for example, they've got the massive on-demand platform. They've got the WWE Network. They have members of staff that are on retainer that work for them, constantly. They've got a big team behind them. They've got a big following behind them. All that sort of stuff. So their infrastructure is fantastic for what because they're massive. I can't provide anything like that myself if I was going to go into promoting the wrestling show. I think that's something that wrestlers don't understand. Because I get contacted with wrestlers saying, "Why am I not on this show?" And I'm like, I just can't afford to book everyone I want to book. And it's not a talent thing. It's not a hate thing or anything. It's literally it is what it is. I've got to stick within a budget.
Yeah.
And, it's difficult.
No, sure. I appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, couldn't do it myself. So big up to you. Big props to you for that, because I can imagine it's a lot of work. Moving on, we've got a couple of fun features here. The first one is a newer one we've got. It's called Hot Takes, and essentially, I just want to know what your hot take is. Essentially, the thing that you would put, it doesn't have to be anything super political or anything, but something you'd put on Twitter where people would be like, "Oh, there's no way he can believe that." So the example I give is that people always look at me weird when I say I really don't like pasta that much. I think pasta's really overrated. And so
it doesn't have to be wrestling related.
It doesn't have to be wrestling related. It can be wrestling related. It can be food related. It doesn't have to be either of those things. But just the one thing in your mind where people always look at you a bit funny when you say something, when you're like, "Oh, there's no way that's right. You can believe that."
Well, I'll give it the wrestling one because that's fresh in my mind. I love squash matches.
Really?
Squash matches are my favourite type of wrestling match, and it annoys me that there aren't any. You don't get any in Brit Wrest at all, anywhere. It's really irritating. I tweeted about this the other day. People are like, which wrestler want to do a squash match? Me. I want to do a squash match. I want to get in a car. I want to get in a car for 2 hours and work for 30 seconds, get paid and go home. That's ideal. Squash matches are fantastic. They're for me, when you have a wrestler who doesn't have anything going on, but they need to be portrayed as a monster, and they get put in squash matches. That's my favourite time of that wrestler's career. So people like Ryback, for example, or Goldberg, Braun Strowman, Omos. They all go through these periods when they start. Baron Corbin. They go through these periods when they start wrestling, where they don't have anything to do. They might not even be. It might just be because they're not as experienced as well. and they just squash people in like and whatever, and it's I love it. It's like when Baron Corbin had that NXT run, and people were counting how long the matches were taking. I thought that was about brilliant. Like I love squash matches. Goldberg's one of my favorite wrestlers. One of my favorite matches of all time was Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. So not the WrestleMania one, not the first one. That was okay. The one where Goldberg came back and he squashed Brock.
Yeah,
loved it. And then the second match where they had this like 6-minute sprint of just doing all the moves. That's like one of my favorite matches. Basically, I just love all that sort of stuff. And wrestling, British wrestling needs to do more of that, and I don't know why they don't. I've had promoters. Well, I've had promoters say to me that I should be doing squash matches in certain promotions, but then they won't book squash matches themselves.
Like, if you're saying it, book it. Give it to me. Yeah.
I imagine people don't want to pay someone to work for a minute, but they're exciting.
Yeah, if it works. Yeah,
because no one does it. No one does it in British wrestling. When it happens, but oh my god! Like I have worked one squash match, but that was on a show that I actually worked 2 matches, so the promoter got his money worth. But I did a squash match, and it was just like it's great. It set the tone for what I was looking to do in terms of character-wise on that show, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So that's my wrestling take. Is squash matches are great, and they should be happening a lot more.
That is a hot take. That is a hot take. I think there will be a lot of people that disagree with that, but I appreciate it.
I tweeted it, and a lot of people disagreed. I'm like, well, that's fine. If you want to watch the same, let's say you want to watch 2 people wrestle each other for half an hour, it's fine. I don't. I want to see someone. On occasion, I want to see someone destroy someone in a very short amount of period of time.
Yeah.
And I get booked in matches that should, well, to purposes for storyline reasons or whatever, should be a squash match, but because the other wrestler doesn't want to look silly, it then doesn't become a squash match. It becomes more competitive, but then doesn't do what is it intended for business. But anyway, that's another point. Yeah, squash matches is my hot take.
Nice, I like it.
Wrestling.
I like it.
Hot take in life. American Thanksgiving dinner looks disgusting. It looks horrible.
Thank you. It does.
Whenever Thanksgiving comes and all the American wrestlers that I follow on Twitter, they post a Thanksgiving dinner, I think that looks disgusting. It looks horrible. It looks just not appetizing. It's just very weird looking. Like an English roast dinner would smoke Thanksgiving dinner any day of the week. The carvery would smoke Thanksgiving dinner any day of the week. And that's my global hot take, because Americans don't appreciate when I say that, and I say it every Thanksgiving.
I like it. I like that one. I agree with that one. Like, yeah, roast dinner trimmings are way better. Like the turkey, I get that's fine. Or like if you want ham or whatever, that's cool. Yeah. But like it's the sides and it's all the stuff that goes.
For the turkey, actually.
No,
because like I prefer chicken to turkey because turkey's drier and turkey requires gravy and stuff. But like Americans have turkey for their Thanksgiving dinner. Whatever other bits they have, I can't remember. It's just all weird. It's all weird.
They have like yams and like mashed potatoes. Mashed potato is a weird side for a roast for me. Like even people over here sometimes have mashed with a roast, and I'm like, that's not right. That's weird.
Yeah. Roast potatoes.
Yeah, all the way.
It's in the name. Yeah. Roast potatoes. It goes with a roast dinner.
Exactly. There we go. Well, I'm glad that we agree on that. I think that's good. And then the final feature we've got here is because last year when you came on, I think we did the matches that shaped my life feature, but now we've moved on. Now we're on Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler, and so this is a little bit more about you out of the ring, I guess. So I'm going to give you some questions, and you let me know what comes to mind. So the first one is my favorite pre-show meal.
It depends on where I am in terms of like if I'm preparing for a bodybuilding show. Because at the moment, and I'm drilling down into detail, be very specific. But if at the moment my wrestling show days, I work on my rest calorie days, which means I'm a lot less lower calories than I would be if I was in the gym.
Right.
Which means I'm on less carbs. And I tailor my carb meal I make sure I have that before I wrestle, which is probably something as boring as chicken and rice.
Right.
I've had that before, like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before I wrestle.
Sure.
And then like afterwards, I feel like I need some form of sugar, so I'll have like maybe a protein bar or something.
Sure.
Okay. And that'll be me.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. No. Well, the next one is.
I'm unfortunately I'm not at the stage of my. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
There's a bit delay.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. You go.
Saying, I'm not at the stage of life and of my wrestling prep where or wrestling my bodybuilding prep where I'm off season, where I can go to the service station and have McDonald's afterwards. Unfortunately, I have to sit and watch everyone else eat that, and I'll just have a coffee or a Coke Zero or something. That's as far as as a treat my taste buds will get. But yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Well, the next one is my favourite post-pinfall pig out. So it doesn't have to be what you're on at the minute or what you're doing at the minute. Just like in an ideal world, post-show, you've just had a match, you've left the venue. What do you want to go for? What's the go-to?
So the things I used to do this regularly. Every Sunday after I'd wrestle, I'd come home from my show, I'd put some wrestling on, and I'd put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I'd have a big pig out meal and watch wrestling. It's usually like maybe Five Guys,
nice,
or a large KFC order, and then I'll wash that down with some brownies and ice cream.
Nice, like it. I like it. That is a great feast. I love it. The next one is just your favourite type of food in general. You know, you don't have any bodybuilding or shows or anything to worry about. You just fancy your favourite food. What would you go for?
I'd probably say fried chicken.
Nice.
But I say that, but I've not had fried chicken in must be about a year now.
Wow, I couldn't go that long without fried chicken.
Yeah, and it's like because of my show preps and stuff, and I've not. I don't think I haven't had it, because when I did my last competition, my coach gave me a very small window of like where I can just eat whatever I wanted to. Basically 2 days after, so you can eat whatever you want to eat, and then. And then after that, I could have like one free meal every week.
Right.
And I just basically had a list of things I wanted to eat that I've been craving, and fried chicken was on that list. And when it got to the time, like my coach was like, "Right, we're back in prep now. You get no more free meals." I hadn't had any fried chicken because I prioritised everything else. But I love fried chicken. That probably is my favourite, and because it just smells and tastes amazing.
Yeah, so. No, always. Yeah, I couldn't go that long without it. I like crave it after like 3 weeks. I'm like, oh god, I really want KFC or something.
Yeah, it doesn't help when the girlfriend eats fried chicken in your house when you're on competition.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Jess, what are you doing? What is this? This is outrageous.
Well, no, it's fine because I'm not going to begrudge her for eating something she wants to eat. It's just I just have to sit and smell it.
Yeah, that's the worst part though, isn't it? You got to sit there and look at it. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, it's like, babe, how's your food tasting? Oh, good, great.
So I got to ask, because we've had Jess on the show as well, and she said she's somewhat of a prankster. Has she pulled any pranks on you before? Has she tried to pull any pranks on you before?
No.
No, she doesn't dare go there.
She'd never pranked me because she
knows that's disappointing.
She wouldn't like it.
Disappointing.
So I think she dislikes pranks more than she likes doing them.
Right.
So like if I pranked her because she pranked me, she wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
So she avoids pranking me. Thank God. Because yeah.
She wouldn't want the payback, and she knows you'd give her the payback.
Yeah. So she knows that she get it back. So
get it. Fair enough. Brilliant. The next one is the song that gets me the most hyped.
This is a weird one, because this is it's not weird because it's my answer, but on my gym playlist I have quite a mix of eclectic mix of music. The song that gets me the most amped is Somebody Else's Guy.
Okay.
I think
someone else said that recently.
Justin Brown.
Yeah, someone else said that recently. I can't remember who.
I don't know why. It's honestly like just like I'll put it up. It'll be on my gym playlist, and it come on randomly, and then I'll just start singing, and I'll just have this massive burst of energy. And I'll just be like really happy and singing, but also really like focused and charged. And I'm like, I'll be in the gym and it comes on my headphones, and I'll be in between sets 2-stepping, and then I'll get on the machine or the bench or whatever, and I'll just have so much focus and energy, and then the song finishes and I'm back to
back to like
myself. That and Prince, I Want to Be Your Lover.
Nice. Two good songs there. Yeah, we had
both
someone else come on before. Like, I can't remember who said it, but someone else definitely said it. And I was like, that's such a weird song to get amped to, but okay.
It is, because if you saw this playlist, it's like wrestling themes, like metal, rap, hip hop, dubstep, like house music, and then you got these like random soul tracks, and the soul tracks are the ones that get me going more than anything else.
Brilliant. I love it. The next one is my favorite band. It doesn't have to be a band. It can be like a solo artist, but like your favorite musical act, like ever.
Probably Justin Timberlake.
Nice.
Yeah, probably Justin Timberlake or Kanye. Although Kanye's got a bit weird the last.
He's sort of gone a bit odd, hasn't he? Yeah.
Like, but I've seen both of them like quite a few times, and I spent a considerable amount of money seeing Justin Timberlake, so that has to be the answer, really.
Sure.
And like, I still listen to some of Kanye's old stuff, and at the time, like 808 and Heartbreaks is one of my favorite albums, and at the time it came out, I was very, when people are like going, what is this nonsense? I'm like, this album's going to hold up for decades. I promise you it will, and for me it has. So.
Nice.
Yeah, one of those two.
Nice. Well, you may have answered the next one as well, because the next one is the best gig I've ever been to. So would it be JT?
No. Oh, I don't know now. I don't know, because I've seen JT twice. Oh no, this is really sorry. Watch the Throne is the best one I've been to.
Really?
Yeah, Jay-Z and Kanye. That was the best one I've been to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, I've seen Kanye a few times, and. When he did Watch the Throne with Jay-Z, and then he did when he brought out the 808 and Heartbreaks, he did like a show based off that, which was really good. And then I've seen The Weeknd. The Weeknd was really good, actually. But I'd probably say, yeah, when I see Watch the Throne.
Nice.
I really like to see AC/DC. I love AC/DC.
Yeah, it's very different to Jay-Z and Kanye. Very different.
Yeah. Like I said, I have an eclectic taste in music. I love AC/DC. They're probably one of, like, if I hadn't have seen Justin Timberlake and Kanye, they'd probably be up there with one of my favorite acts. So,
yeah. AC/DC are great. I'd go and see AC/DC. That's more my sort of music. That more like rock and metal stuff is all my sort of thing.
Well, I used to listen to the Iron Man album like religiously in the gym.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite albums. So.
Yeah, it's a good choice. It's a great choice. Yeah, and that as well is more like pump up stuff as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's your traditional pump up stuff, not Justin Brown. But.
Love it. The next one is the movie that I show the locker room.
Oh, okay. What in what way? Because I have.
So the way I describe it is that, like, so. For some reason, you've gone to a show day and it's like 2 hours before the show and everyone's there already. And like, you're like, oh, guys, we're all going to watch this movie. Like, what is the first movie that would come to mind that you'd be like, everyone's got to see? The movie you think everyone should see, essentially.
Well, my first marks would be The Wrestler, because if I'm in a backstage locker room, there's so many, like The Wrestler, the movie is scarily accurate for, like, probably more so independent wrestling in America, but it's very accurate for wrestling, and it's just quite funny some of the stuff that goes on in that film. But outside of wrestling, probably, and this is recency tax, probably Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'll probably just put that on because it's I don't know if you've seen it, but it's crazy.
I've seen clips of it. I've not seen the whole thing though.
The film is basically like a fever dream.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way I could describe it. A film is like a fever dream. It's absolutely crazy, and like. It's really long. it's weird. It's really long, but it doesn't feel really long.
Right. Okay. It goes quite quick.
And like the film's in parts as well. So like you watch the whole film, and then it's like end of part one. I'm like, oh, I thought this would be the end of the film now. But yeah, it's just crazy.
Nice. All right, I'll have to check it out.
It's like one of the things it's like so bad that it's good.
Right. Oh, I love those sort of films. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check that out.
It's really good.
I'll have to check that out. Nice. The next one is my favorite way to relax.
I guess I kind of just mentioned it really. Put my phone on Do Not Disturb, watch some wrestling, and eat a lot of food that I'm probably not meant to eat.
Nice. That's a good way. Yeah. Real nice pig out thing. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Feet up, totally chill.
Yeah.
The next one is a bit of a throwback because it's my first job.
First job, okay. My first job when I was... Oh, so I had a summer job where I worked in IT support.
Okay.
Weird because obviously I had no experience in it. I was just working off a manual.
Right.
I actually had a manual basically, and the extent to which my work was that I ended up doing was I'd go to someone report they got a problem with their PC. I'd go and have a look at it, turn it off, turn it back on, and work again. And that's essentially was it. And then I go back to the office and I'd just sit there and I'd be on the internet just doing like, random stuff on the internet all day until I got a ticket come in.
Your life was basically the IT crowd.
Essentially, yeah. But the answer was 9 times out of 10 was turn your PC off and turn it back on. And that would solve all problems. Like, the only thing I actually ever had to do was install someone's like work profile on a new PC,
right?
And that was all from a manual. So I just went downstairs with the manual, just copied it word for word, and everything worked every time. I should have stayed in that job because like
that's easy, easy money.
So easy. I spent a lot of time doing nothing.
You could have set up like a whole like gym setup in your office, and then you can do your workout while you're there.
It was great because like I often finish work early because there's nothing else to do. My boss would often, and my boss was fine with it because it's like there's nothing to do, so you might as well go home. My boss would often be like, "Right, I'm going to go play golf." just during the day at work, which is like, I'm going to go play golf now. Like, you know, I'm on call, but don't bother me. And we never did because there was never any reason to. But when the odd thing did happen, it was very easy to fix.
Nice. What a chill job. What a chill life. I love it.
Yeah, I know, it was great.
And as a first job as well, that's all you can ask for, right? As a first job, getting money in, like that's all you want.
Yeah, and for my first job, the money was really good. I did that for a summer, and I had loads of money, and then I did that again. I did that for a few summers, and then going into uni, and I went back to uni with loads of money, and after doing this really easy job, like. The only difficult part was getting up to go to work. The rest of it was once I was there, I was just like, right, I'm at work now. What should I do? Oh, I'll just go and go to the cafe and get some breakfast, and then sit and eat my breakfast at my desk, and then wait for something to happen.
Brilliant! I love it. Such a chill job. I love that. I envy that a lot. Well, the next one is sort of you might already do it because it's if I wasn't a wrestler, I'd be.
And so if I could do anything in the world, and it would probably be, I think some form of acting.
Yeah.
Like I've always wanted a job that allows me to work and to travel and to meet new people and experience the world. And I think probably acting is probably something that would allow me to do that. But then acting's quite difficult.
But you sort of do it now, don't you? That's the thing, like.
I mean, I've done extra work and stuff like that, and it's allowed me to travel to out of the country, never really abroad. Maybe modelling because that's quite easy. Well, it's not. It's difficult, but it's easy. Once you know what you're doing, it's easy.
Yeah.
And you can also do a lot of travelling with that. I wanted to when I was younger to be a radio presenter.
Nice.
Because you're essentially just talking and pushing a few buttons. And that's it. But yeah, I don't know.
No, that's fair enough. I like the sort of two spectrums as well. You either want a really chill life or like a really exciting, like global traveller life.
Well, I don't like to keep still. This is my problem. I don't like to keep still. Like if I don't have a holiday coming up or whatever, then I panic. I always like to have a holiday booked somewhere.
Nice.
Look at my calendar, and, you know, within the next 2 months I'm going somewhere. Is what I like. So I'd rather be in a job where I get to travel. And on someone else's time.
Yeah. And then the holidays take care of themselves. It's easy.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, there's an amount of work you need to do, but you can also have a couple of days to yourself and enjoy and explore. So
nice,
yeah.
nice. The next one is my favourite animal.
Probably a liger.
Nice.
Like I would go like the normal, like, you know, a dog or whatever. I love dogs anyway. But like the thing, I don't know if you know much about ligers.
Yeah, it's the lion tiger breed, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and because they're like a breed of lions and tigers, they have this genetic deformity where they can't stop growing. So they just get massive. It's basically just a massive like lion, basically, and they just keep growing. So like they're like the most. Obviously, I don't think there are that many, but they grow to be these massive beasts, which I just find impressive. So.
Yeah, the OP ones. I like it. Yeah. The next one gets a little deep because it's my greatest fear.
My greatest fear would probably be, I guess, living a life of regrets. And when you look back in your life, think, I wish I'd done this, wish I'd done that. So I generally, anything I want to do in life, I'll at least try and go for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like I could give like the normal one. Everyone has like a fear of death, so to speak, but it's something that's going to happen to all of us. Wouldn't like to be buried alive. I don't think I'd like that, or to drown. I think those would be pretty horrible. But on like a personal level of something that's actually, something I'm in control of, or whatever. It's living a life that's of regrets and unfulfilled things you've wanted to try.
Yeah, no, sure. I get that, and I respect that. The next one is a couple of wrestling ones. The next one is my favourite wrestling match ever. And you may have already picked up on it, because I want one that you've been in and one that you've watched.
Okay. One that I've been in would either be the Artcore match or the Resurgence.
Nice, great match, yeah.
It's just, it's like, the thing about that match, I'll peel the curtain back slightly, is we had no idea what was going on. We had no idea what was in the ring, what we were able to use. We had match spots that we'd obviously planned or whatever beforehand, and the rest of it was just like, what else is in the ring? Let's see what we can do with whatever.
Love it.
So there was a spot where I got a paper cut and I got hit over the head with the canvas, like the painting canvas and that sort of stuff, and all that sort of stuff, that went crazy stuff, which was all on kind of on the fly, and we just grabbed stuff and did stuff with it. It was just fun.
Yeah.
That or the match I had with Tom Irvin, like a long time ago at Endeavour. I wouldn't say Endeavour 11.
Right.
No, it might have been after that, actually. But anyway, I had Endeavour 9 was my debut. 10 I had second match, didn't do 11. Might have been 13. It was Endeavour 13. Anyway, that match I had with Tom was a lot of fun. Tom's like a good friend of mine, and anyway, so obviously got a love and respect for him. And it was just fun. It's still to this day one of the most fun matches I've had, even though that was like in my first year of wrestling.
Yeah. So. Nice. I like it. What about one that you've watched? You said you like the Swatch matches. Would it be Goldberg Lesnar?
Goldberg Lesnar. Then see, I like the WWE main event style of wrestling, where it's just all very much like car crash. Like a lot of stuff going on in a short amount of time. Like a lot of Roman Reigns matches at the moment are very much like the whole car crash like wrestling match, like his matches with Lesnar and stuff.
Yeah.
So like recently, I'd say like something like that, like their match at SummerSlam, for example. But on a probably personal, it would probably be that Brock Goldberg match.
Yeah.
That has like tremendous replay value to me. I watch it all the time.
Yeah, so. That was a great match. I've said it before to someone else. I think we were talking about this match where it's like, because you don't expect it to be like, you expect it to sort of be short because it's those two, but you didn't expect what actually happened. Yeah, that's a great match. I get that. The next one is going to be in person though, that you've been for, because it's the loudest pop I've ever heard.
Loudest pop I've ever heard. Okay. Well, so I was there when Brock Lesnar came back in 2012.
Were you? Nice.
Yeah. That was crazy pop. I think purely because, well, on my part anyway, it wasn't expected. I know that there'd been I heard afterwards there'd been rumblings that he was coming back and rumblings that Batista was coming back and whatever. And the way that pop was set up, people were expecting the Rock's music to play, but it was Lesnar's instead, and then everyone went mad. That the pop when the Hardys came back at WrestleMania 33, I was there for that as well. That was like surreal.
Nice.
Those are the ones I can think of, like, that I've been there, like. Yeah, and then I'd say the false finish at WrestleMania 28 between in the Panera match.
Yeah.
So when Michaels hit the switching music, Triple H hit the pedigree, and the Undertaker kicked out.
Yeah.
That moment was pretty mad.
Yeah, those are three mental ones. Yeah, I probably couldn't pick between those. Those are three pretty epic pops. I love that. The next one's my favourite venue to wrestle in.
So I've been quite lucky to wrestle in some really cool venues, and like me as a wrestler, I just like a venue that has space and a shower and, you know, a fridge, a microwave, and a plug socket.
Yeah.
So it's like nothing like spectacular or whatever, but I love wrestling at the Bedford in Balham for that reason, and because it's like 15 minutes from my house. So
handy,
yeah, it's got a decent amount of space to change in. It's got a shower. It's got plug sockets. It's got a fridge. It doesn't have a microwave, but you know, I can't go on. That's like the first venue I wrestled in, and it's one that it's a favourite. But then I've wrestled in, obviously, Ali Pali, and that's a fantastic venue because that's massive. There's loads of room. They have, you know, massive change rooms, massive showers. That's what it's an iconic venue. So I'd probably name that. And I've obviously been lucky enough to wrestle in the Blackpool, the Bournemouth Blackpool pool as well. Just because it's like of historic significance. The venue itself wasn't anything spectacular, and in fact we had to change in the corridors. But it's still a fantastic venue to wrestle in.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Like when it's just such an iconic venue, you're like, oh, this is going to be great, and you're like really sort of like almost slowing it, like changing in the corridor.
Yeah. It's like it's great, but then it's like, oh, but there's actually no real changing areas. So it's like it was like I did obviously the UK tournament. It was a massive WWE show, a massive event in this massive arena. And the funny thing about it was actually the backstage area. People don't know about it, is like there's a part upstairs in the venue where it's just literally there's a curtain, and behind the curtain's where the fans are.
What? So they just push that back, and that'll be it.
There's like not a wall or segregation anywhere. It's literally just like this is just one curtain that you can go into in the stands from. So
like a fan walks in, he like sees the curtain, he could walk the wrong way, be like, oh, I wonder what's behind here, and it's Roy Johnson changing.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Brilliant.
But no one knew that, apart from the wrestlers who were there, because obviously we'd been in the venue for a couple of days before, and just obviously walking around and stuff.
That's a good thing no one knew that, yeah.
No one knew that, but like I knew it because I'd gone through the curtain to go and sit in the crowd while we were doing rehearsals and stuff, and then I've gone through and gone back to the back. But it's like there's no like separation or everything between the crowd and backstage there. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, I assume they must have had someone that stood down security, but I don't think they did.
That's so weird. That's so rad.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we've got a couple of final ones, and they're sort of like travel based. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say for this one because it's my favourite place in the world.
I'm going to say Ibiza, but I could say Miami as well.
Yeah,
I love Miami. I used to go there quite a bit, so family live there. But I'm just going to say Ibiza. Yeah,
nice.
Fine.
Nice. And then the final one, then let's say from what you've just said there, let's say not Ibiza or Miami because it's my dream holiday destination.
Japan.
Yeah, we get that a lot, unsurprisingly.
I really want to go to Japan. I've never been. I really want to go.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list of places to go to.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll get to visit Japan in the next couple of years or so. I just really want to go. Like I know from what I see of it, I know it'll just like blow my mind. In terms of like how different it is and all that sort of stuff. So
no, I get that.
I can take it off next couple.
I get that. I think a lot of wrestlers have that, and I have it on my bucket list as well. Like Japan just looks super cool and just so different from what you used to over here, and that's the appeal, right? That's the pull. Nice. I love it. Well, Roy Johnson, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. Thanks so much for being open and honest about things like representation, and also just talking about your career and what you want to achieve. I really appreciate you being so open and honest with it. We always end each show with giving our guest one final bit of promo time. So whether it's as part of the 8-7 in a tag match with Alex or with Warren, or whether it's on your own in some solo action, in the next 12 months, in the next year, in the next few years, why should people be coming to see Big Wavy Roy Johnson?
Well, I'm going to mention the 8-7 actually. I use my real estate to veer us up because we're making moves. As at the moment, I'm really enjoying teaming with Roth, and we're really starting to gel and click as a cohesive unit. And other tag teams in the country should be worried, because when we get to where we're meant to be, we're going to take over. And not only the 8-7 taking over as a tag team, but the whole group. Because when Warren's back, when Jade's back, and we'll probably have other members within our ranks at that point, and we're going to take over. So
love it. Love it.
Watch out for us next year, because it's going to be our year.